It's a lovely evening, although it was forecasted to be worse, just like Saturday was, I guess, the non-Hurricane Lee. So, you know, it's all good. This is the annual meeting of membership meeting for BevCam. We typically have them in mid-September. I'm skipping the slides this year. We're going a little more informal, no jacket for me tonight, and you know, we're just going to kind of wing it. The agenda you each should have a copy of. There's plenty of room for any of you to say what you want to say, which we'd appreciate it, good or bad. And time for the board members to introduce themselves, as well as Rob, I'm sure, will have the staff, and they're going to make brief presentations. So it'll be more of a just a get to know one another kind of gathering. You should pick a title for everything. So I've called it BevCam in 2023, Reset for an Exciting Future, because there's been a ton of changes in 2023, especially in staff. There's been, coming out of COVID, I think we learned stuff that's now beginning to make the organization even stronger, especially in the programming area, of being able to pivot quickly and not have to do everything in the studio. And a lot of you, or some of you here who are producers, were actually able to do that. Some others, not quite, but it worked a lot, and it kept a good continuity in content in key areas that is important. And as you know from last year, we renegotiated a new contract, 10-year contract with Comcast, which is now an amazingly, well, not really, because they're a monopoly, so if the viewership goes down, they raise their prices, right? But the total take that we're getting every quarter has actually been up the last 3 quarters, and it was around roughly $190,000 this past quarter for, and that compares to, I don't know, 100 on a good day. In the old days, 120. So we're in much better shape, and we can be much more flexible and try to reset and look to the future, do new things, experiment. If everything doesn't work, it's okay.
You're gonna pay the producers, I heard.
Where'd you hear that, Bob?
Rob,
Rob told you. Oh, okay. We're gonna have another board meeting after this meeting. And so anyway, just briefly then, new staff. Rob just finished his first full year mid-May, I believe, and he started, or was it later? It started in April?
I think May 9th was the first day, and then full-time 2 weeks later.
Okay, right, okay, yeah. And you know, he's brought on, you know, he's been very busy in a lot of aspects. Hired some very good people who he'll talk more to later, and you'll meet them. And you know, I think we're getting bigger. We're getting back to a staff that is needed. We have the money to support that, which is, we're fortunate. Programming, in addition to continued educational and government programming, which has always been our strength. And we've had a lot of turnover in those areas, and we'll have a little bit more at the end of the month. But the way the staff is trained now, which is really good, everybody can do everything pretty much. They might not do it as well as everybody else, but if something happens and you need backup, you got it. And I think that's something that Rob's done a really good job, allowing everybody the time to learn everything, okay, when there's more downtimes. And that's been a huge help, and I'm sure there'll be times when you'll say, boy, are we glad we did that, because we thought only XYZ knew how to do that. But from a programming point of view, on the other side, shows that continue, which are really good, is George Binns with the Binns Report, Gail and Elliot with the Conservative Corner, Leslie and John with Keep It Local from the Greater Beverly Chamber, Around Town with the Rotary, North Shore Journal with Walt, and several more which aren't mentioned. I think when you just look at the titles, and if you know the people, you look at the people, I think we're continuing to support a diversity of views, which is important for a media platform like BevCam. And I trust and hope that will continue going forward. Community outreach. Let's suffice it to say we're doing a lot of it now. We've probably done more. When did you join, Liz?
April.
Okay. We've probably done more between April and now than we had done, I won't say ever, but if you add it all up, in the last 3 or 4 years. It's or more. It's like night and day. And it takes a while, but from a public point of view and a community point of view, you got to do that to establish the brand. And, you know, from a government and sports reporting and all that, that's a little different. And people don't even really half the time know it. That's BevCam either. They're just glad they can look at it. But this, and you can't do brand, you can't build a brand by just sitting inside. I mean, you got to get out and about and all that kind of business. Go to events. You know, we're considering some things like pop-up places, a Beverly branded vehicle. We continue to look for space downtown, which if the right thing comes along, we probably will have a second location and keep the major production here, but have a second location for this purpose. So it's all that kind of stuff is good, and it's critical to keep the organization vibrant and moving forward. And the financials are kind of why we can do all this, in a way. I've been here 20 years now, 21 years, and they're amazing. We now have about almost $800,000 in the bank or receivables. They're good. It's just they're accrued, and I already mentioned the Comcast payment. So, you know, we'll continue to maintain a healthy reserve, but we'll also continue to not be hesitant to spend money in areas that we think could be promising and have a good payoff for producers, for members, and for the BevCam organization in general. I'd like to recognize a few people. Rob, of course, I've already mentioned. Many of you, if not all of you, I think know him now. And he's done a really good job in his first 15, 16 months, grabbing a hold of something that was in good shape, but not as good a shape as maybe some of us thought, and has really, really gotten all that out of the way. And now it's just going forward with everything else. Kim, who had to go off, as he mentioned to me going out, he says, I'm the only guy getting paid tonight. But he had to go out, and the city council meets tonight, so he's in City Hall doing the meeting. I want to recognize Robert, Matt, and Zach. They've all departed over the last few months. They're really good guys. I think they didn't leave because they didn't like BevCam. It wasn't that at all. They got really good opportunities. And, Rob's down in New York now at Fordham University, and Zach is, I think, working out of he lives right across the library, and his car's always there. So I think he's working out of there, but he's a regional manager for something. And then Matt's working for Cablecast. Yeah. So that's cool. And he's staying, but he's doing another dimension of the industry. So that's working out well. And at the same time, I want to welcome Chris back. He's been here before. Liz and Michelle. I'm sure they'll talk a little bit about what they do, so I'm not going to say anything other than the place is organized now, I think, efficiently, where everybody does know how to do everything, but everybody has defined accountability in specific areas, be it content or business development or whatever, producer operations, which is Kim still. Kim will be leaving full time, I guess towards the end of the month. End of October, yeah. And he's given BevCam 14 to 15 really good, solid years, and. But he's not getting any younger, just like some of the rest of us. And, he's going to kind of as he told me, he still wants to do work. He's going to continue a lot of the city meetings, and he just doesn't want to have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock every day and go home at X, Y, Z. And who can blame him? Yeah, but we'll miss him. His quirky sense of humor.
He's gonna watch this one later.
The board, I think we're having a lot of turnover in the board right now. Just like there's a lot of turnover in the staff. Turnover is a healthy thing if managed well, and I think we're all managing it well in terms of bringing on new people. I do want to thank Brian Thompson, who was here.
He had to take off. Yeah.
Okay, he had to leave. Who's also he's around BevCam a lot, and I think he is or was or still is a producer. I want to thank Luke, who now lives in Reno, Nevada, and travels internationally extensively for the company he works for, where he's in business development. And Derek, who is local, but he now has 2 jobs. He still has his personal training business, and he also works for. It's a good job. I forget the name of the company. They're based in Nevada too, I think. And he's traveling a lot. But I met with him a couple weeks ago, and we had a nice talk. And he's still around. We can pick his brain. He's a smart guy. He does have a lot of good ideas. So.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll keep in touch with, excuse me, with him. And again, welcome to two people. Well, one person for sure. No, 2 people. I'm sorry, to the board that are already on there. Keith and Alex, who can say something about themselves in a few minutes, and also John Tamilio, who is, if you vote him in, is going to be recommended by the board for one of the member-elected board seats, which we'll do in a few minutes, okay? Producers, real active ones include the Beverly Chamber, Rotary, Gail and Elliott, Paul Norman, Andy Friedman, George Binns, Bob Butterworth, Walt Kosmowski, Mayor Cahill, and the folks at the Second Congregational Church, where my wife happens to be in charge. She's not a minister, but in charge of figuring out what to do with the Second Congregational Church. So it's been an interesting challenge, but they're doing fine, and they'll do fine. And in the community, we just want to give a shout out to the mayor's office. They are very supportive of BevCam. Main Streets, Boosters Club, the students and athletes at Beverly Schools, and a special shout out to the BevCam sports crew and announcers. They do a tremendous job. I really like it now that they're branching out into girls volleyball and field hockey, I think, and all sorts of different kinds of sports. Did sailing, and not just the traditional sports that we all know what they are. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rob to say a few words, and then we'll move on to. I moved my remarks up. We'll move on to John to take care of the elections and stuff. Okay, Rob.
Okay. I need this. Okay. It is absolutely amazing to me that it's now been 15 months here in Beverly. It has flown by. I have just been absolutely enamored with the community, the North Shore, the whole part. As many of you probably know, I'm a transplant from northern New England, up in Vermont, but I have just always been really sort of eyeing the ocean and seeing, and it was just a great opportunity and I'm so appreciative of the board of directors to trust me in taking on the helm of BevCam. So it's just been really a wonderful time. I say that it's been incredible to me that it's been more than a year because of the staff turnover, and so I do want to recognize, last year Zach had already left, but in January or towards the end of last year, when Robert gave his notice and said that he would take in this opportunity to move to New Jersey to take over the sports broadcasting system at Fordham University. It was a little scary because Robert was an integral part. Is the word integral or integral?
And
Either
either or.
Whatever you want.
Integral.
I've always gone with integral.
I like integrals.
Anyway, Robert had really sort of built up a lot of the work on the sports production and the technology here, and it was super impressive to get here and find out that the things that they were doing with fiber transport and all the technology that kind of has to do with community media. And we wondered what we would do without. It was hard to imagine a BevCam without Robert, but we were so glad that he was moving back to Jersey. He's from Jersey himself. He was going to be close to his mom, and he was taking on something that he really enjoyed, which is sports coverage. So, you know, whenever somebody on my staff comes and says, you know, I have to give notice, and I'm like, I always say I feel wonderful for you, but as the executive director, I'm a little scared now. So, and then Matt, a couple weeks later, gave his notice because he had been offered the position at Cablecast, and I was like, I think when we first came in, that Kim came in the next morning, and he looked at me and he says, "Just, I'm not happy." And I said, "What can I do to make you happy, Kim?" And we actually got to spend, Kim and I, the month of April pretty much running the shop. I mean, Liz was here, but she was doing community engagement. So I was kidding Kim about the two old guys learning how to do things that Robert and Matt had been doing the whole time. So it was quite a month, and I really appreciated that Kim was there for that trip with me to be able to do that month, and I'm very proud of us to be able to do that. But we are very much appreciative when Michelle and Chris did arrive and be able to take on May 1st of this year, and we finally could take a breath and say, okay, I can get back to doing executive director thing instead of trying to figure out how to get the camera signal from the field out here onto the channel. Not that I'm very appreciative of the fact that I know how to do that, because then I know that if we need to be, I can step in and do that. But so it's just been. It was great to get to know Robert and Matt, and I really do consider them friends, and I hope that they will, and I know that they will be always in touch with BevCam. And then we have to get to Kim, who I knew, and he had been talking about retiring from the beginning, and I said, I understand you know, and I think it's great for you as on a personal level, but Kim has been a partner in so many ways in taking care and taking a leadership role at BevCam. Every morning now I get here at 8:30, and Kim and I get to sit and talk for half an hour, and it's just been, it may be about work, it may not, it may be about life, but I know that this man has a heart of gold, and he has poured a lot of it into BevCam, and will continue to do it. We know that he will be around, but he has a really a special place in my heart that I think that many of you who do work with him know. He puts on that curmudgeon sort of front, but there's a heart in there that is just so strong, and he takes care of things that he cares about, and BevCam says. So, and we would have thrown a big party for Kim, but he does not want that.
He doesn't want
No, yeah, it is too bad, because I know that people will come out.
Judy and I are really good at throw-in retirement parties, aren't we, Judy?
He will not appreciate it.
No, he would
He
be.
wants to kind of just step out the door quietly and know that it's not about him. It's about that's the one thing about Kim, is it's not really about him. It's about everybody.
Right.
You know, it's about taking care of everybody and making sure that they're all on doing things that are wonderful and on a path that's good for them. And that's really kind of the kind of man he is. And it has been so wonderful, as I said, to get to spend every morning with my cup of tea and his cup of coffee, and we just sit there and talk about anything that we might do. So it will be a miss part of my morning to be able to not be able to sit there with him. But I understand why he's doing it, and I know that it's a good thing for him and for Dee to be able to go and travel and to spend some of his time in retirement. He's well earned and well deserved. So the other thing I'd like to say is to recognize Paul as a partner. It has been wonderful, Paul as the chair of the board, to be able to get to him and just kind of take his wisdom and knowledge and what he's done in the years that he's been together. It is so much nice to be able to sit and we meet down at the Anchor, and we'll have a drink or something like that.
The Anchor.
And I'll just tell him this is what's going on, and he'll give me that sage advice and say this is what you're doing. But he trusts me, and I appreciate that level of trust, and that we have that ability to sort of just talk about things that are really, where are we going, how do we get there, and why do we want to get there. So all the board as well, from Andy to the new ones, Keith and Alex, and the people that have been on the board, it has been, and Judy, it has just been, it's sometimes I lose words to it just because it's so nice to be with a group of people who get it, who want to do it, and are work together to do it. So I very much appreciate the board and what they bring to it. And lastly, the community. I've just been so impressed with the community of Beverly. It's just such a wonderful opportunity to come. And I always say it's very lucky of me to be able to get into the jobs that I do because I'm already in the community before I even get at day one. You know, it's part of my job is to go out and know the mayor, to know the people who run this town, the people who are activists in this town, who are passionate about this town. And they all come to my office and they just talk, and it's very easy for me just to kind of get to know them and learn it. And I do know how very special Beverly is. And that being said, and so finally we get to the new staff who have just been absolutely amazing and wonderful to get to know, and I know that you guys will get to know them, and they're going to introduce themselves in a little bit. So I think that one of the qualities of being a leader is recognizing people and finding people that will do the jobs for you and do it well, and challenge you, and that's one of the things that Kim always did was he would challenge me. So if I said something, he would really run me through the ringer that I had to justify it. And these guys that are coming with us now, I think, do the same thing. They all kind of look at me and say, well, why are we doing that? Or is there some better way to do that? So that is really just a part of a very effective leader. And I'd like to think that I have that capacity and that skill. So I think, I had a couple things on my list, but I think I'll leave it from you. You're going to talk about like the HD channel, right, aren't you, and stuff like that? Yeah, okay. So I don't want to take away from their thunder, but thank you for everything. It's been a wonderful year at BevCam. It was very odd that the annual report that we put together that's on your seats has a lot of data in it. It's interesting that we come to September and we're talking about 2022. By this time in September, we're really already thinking about the things that we're doing in 2023. So that's I couldn't even, in the report, I couldn't even talk about the new staff because they haven't really been hired yet. So that'll be for the 2023 annual report that'll take place next September in 2024. But Paul mentioned some of the things that we've been thinking about doing, that we're talking about doing, is about how do we get more people involved, how do we get people's voices involved, how do we get diverse voices and opinions involved, and the staff is well prepared to kind of take that on and take that challenge and really just go to run with it. So I'm looking forward to the time that we have with them, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy them. So with that, I will finish my comments and say thank you very much again.
Okay, now we'll do the election, okay?
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was my screw up with the flow.
The flow is still good.
Good flow.
It'll work.
I'm John Algieri. I'm a member of the board of directors. I've been on the board for about 10 years now, I think. Was introduced to BevCam a couple of years before that as a volunteer after being in a career in state government for like 42 years. What my role is tonight is a couple of things. First, we are recommending a couple of new members to the board of directors. But before I get to that, I would like to, and I'm going to put you on the spot. We do have two members of the board who have joined us since the spring, and I would like to introduce them to you at the meeting. First, Alex Saluco. Alex, if you could just stand. And Alex has experience with BevCam over the years. He was one of the mainstays of sports production and color commentary.
Play-by-play color.
Play-by-play,
Camera,
etc.
everything.
Very professional. If any of you have watched the sports programming here, it's been really excellent. Award-winning.
Weren't you a student volunteer?
In 2011.
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember.
So all the way through college, and I got a degree in it, and now I don't use that degree.
Good job.
I'm not unfamiliar,
Except on
so, right?
Right.
So thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, and Keith Sonia, who joined us around the same time a few months ago. Do you want to say?
Yeah, it's been a privilege to be on the board. My background is mostly in politics, public outreach, public affairs. I'm a senior leader at a public affairs consulting firm now. My clients are state agencies, universities, etc. And so Paul and John I met initially, and they let me know that one of Rob's sort of big initiatives coming in to the executive director role was to think about how BevCam reached the community. And then Liz has since joined, and it's been great kind of picking her brain and lending my time when available, and I look forward to sort of a continued partnership to make sure that we continue to grow the membership and to the point where we're maybe in the hallway or something at the next one, overflow room. But a privilege to get to know all of you in the coming years, and look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Keith. I'd like to introduce and welcome both Alex and Keith to you at this meeting. Then the next order of business is really to vote on two new members. Well, one is not a new member. The first is that the board has two candidates for membership to the board of directors. One is a gentleman who's been on the board for several years now, and it's Mark Jameson. So this would be renewing Mark's tenure as a member of the board of directors. Mark has a background in special education. He's a special education educator professional and has held a myriad of positions in that particular field, and has also produced programming here at BevCam, and is passionate about bringing about community awareness for people who have disabilities, developmental disabilities, etc. So, Mark, if you want to stand, just say a few words about you and BevCam.
Thanks, John. That kind of sums it up. So I became a member of this organization maybe 7 years ago when I created a show called Amazingly Autistic. I was a career specialist with a nonprofit organization called Bridgewell, and I realized the abilities that my clients with autism had in the employment workforce. Now I'm currently a media production teacher at North Shore Academy, which is a mile up the road. And and so now I'm an instructor. I'm a media production teacher at North Shore Academy, which is a mile up the road. And with my partnership with BevCam, they've given us some equipment that used to be used in town hall. When they revamped it, we got their equipment. We use it now in our classroom, which is very helpful with a low budget, and with school politics, we don't really have much of a budget. So with their support, we've been able to grow our program, and now we give our students the ability to express themselves freely. And just with this organization, it's been a great honor, and I look forward to connecting with more people in the community. I just want to put this out there. One of my students has an incredible ability for audio engineering and designing. And so if any of you producers that are here need support with adding audio to your program, I'm sure that we could collaborate. If you don't have obviously BevCam has the resources as well with the staff, but if you want to get students involved as well, I'd be happy for them to give you my information. Again, my name is Mark Jameson, and we could work together to help some of my students with disabilities get real life experience. So that's what I want to bring to this table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. The other candidate the board is recommending, who would be new to the board, is John Tamilio. John is the senior pastor at the Canton Congregational Church. He is also a adjunct professor at Salem State, Endicott College, and Gordon College as well. And John also has experience with BevCam as pre-pandemic, probably 2019 and earlier. Had a show called Frame of Reference, and they may have that title, or maybe Frames of Reference. But in any event, we're recommending John. He has his background again is different than those of us who are on the board, and we think would bring a diversity of opinion and experience to the board that would be helpful as Rob and his staff continue to develop the mission of BevCam going forward into the future. So we're recommending for a vote this evening, adding both Mark Jameson and Dr. John Tamilio to the Board of Directors. And we can do that with a show of hands, right, Paul? So can we do that now? If ever, I'd like to put them both on the slate of candidates, if you will.
Do I need to remove myself?
We won't count, we won't count your vote for yourself.
All right, fair enough.
Well, he
So-
can vote for himself.
Yeah, you can. So if we could just have a show of hands for adding Mark Jameson and Dr. John Tamilio to the board. Do we have any nays? Any discussion? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome again, Mark.
Thanks, John. Very nice job. Okay, next up, the current board members who haven't said anything yet, there's a few of you here. If you could stand up and reintroduce yourself and maybe say a few comments or not. I'll start with Judy Miller.
On the spot.
Yeah,
Stand where?
you're a veteran.
Okay.
So get up there so the camera sees
I'm Judy Miller. I've been on the board as long as Paul,
That long?
you think?
you. Almost.
I am
You're
the
younger
clerk,
than I am, though.
not by much. Yeah, I go way back, and I am. I work for the schools. I've been the director of technology for 23 years. It's technology, digital learning, and have been the liaison between the school and BevCam, which Sean Fitzpatrick has taken over that spot. So I think I'm just the clerk now. I don't know. No.
She's a really good note taker.
Yeah, a very important part.
Very important. It's great to be on the board. It's always we've had some, especially the last couple of years.
Yeah, we had
We've
some.
done a lot of work. So thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Judy. Andy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Friedman. I think I've been on the board 7 or 8 years. I'm a producer as well. I have one of the unmentioned shows called Local Music Now. Really awesome. Check it out. Punk rock show.
It was rough.
That's what, yeah.
I didn't put that down there?
No, go ahead.
Unmentioned or unmentionable?
Well, it's not unmentionable. No. I love being on the board. It's just really interesting job. We have had some very interesting couple of years, and I think that it's really good that I'm a producer and also on the board, and we have some also people who've been producers and people who want to be producers. It's kind of good to be in here doing it, seeing how everything goes, and then also being on the board. And I'm so happy to have Rob here too. So thank you.
I don't see anybody else. Tony?
Sean.
Oh, Sean, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Hey there, I'm Sean Fitzpatrick. I teach media here at the high school. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my second year on the board, and I would just like to echo some of the comments that we heard before about what an exciting year this has been with all the changes, and it's been a great honor to be part of the process of developing the future of BevCam. I've heard so many great ideas this year. It's really exceeded my expectations, so I'm just happy to have been here, and thanks so much for allowing me to be part of it.
Welcome. Tony is in Italy. So Tony's been on the board, I think, a month more or less than I have. She's another veteran. Okay. So anyway, she's seen a lot, just like we all have. Yeah, the other thing I forgot to mention, well, I mentioned it, I guess, last year, but we work subgroups more now, and the search committee was really a lot of fun because it was a lot of work. But it was Judy and Andy and John and myself, and it was 21 candidates, and it got down to one. And
It's a lot of
we
funny
hired
interviews.
a firm that knows what they're
Yeah,
doing,
Rob.
so we could know what we were doing, and
Right.
it all worked out very well. So
And I think we instituted a thing that they're going to use now in those little video.
oh yeah, we did some stuff that
Yeah.
they said, huh? And they were media professionals, but
they were like, you can't do that. We're like, well, we're gonna do it. And then they were like, that was great.
And Rob's video was.
Oh, the bad Rob's video
It
was
made me laugh. I
awesome.
said, let's hire this guy.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Was it the ice cream or something?
No, it
Okay,
was the dad
so I
jokes.
think now we move on to, I'll let Rob take over again as far as short presentations to key staff members.
So yeah, I already kind of said my piece, so I just want to have an opportunity to sort of introduce you to the staff. We'll start with Liz, who was hired at the beginning of April to be a new position, which we call a community engagement manager. And I think Liz's joke was that I hired her to become everybody in Beverly's friend, and so she's working hard at doing that. So, Liz.
She's very friendly.
Chris, it's gonna get loud. Hello! My name is Liz, and if you couldn't tell, I'm an extrovert. And he's not lying even a little bit. I literally sent him a DM on LinkedIn that said, I'm gonna be friends with everyone in Beverly. I could do it for you. And that's pretty much what my job has been. Not only am I in charge of our social media, so if you've seen us on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, that's me. Thanks. But I've also been getting involved with a lot of really incredible groups that are local, such as Women on a Mission to Earn Commission. That's one of our women business groups, and the Beverly Chamber of Commerce and the North Shore Chamber of Commerce and Beverly Main Streets, and as well as a whole bunch of other not-for-profits around the town and other businesses. And we will continue to cultivate those relationships and just be able to make sure that when somebody says, oh yeah, I do stuff down at BevCam, nobody says, who's BevCam? And yeah, so if I don't know you already, please introduce yourself to me. I want to be your friend. If I do know you, nice to see you again. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Michelle, who's going to explain what a content manager does.
Manages content.
Of course, but it was,
Yeah, I manage content. Hello, my name is Michelle Lopez. I just joined BevCam in May, so I've been here just a couple months. Just a little background, I came from Winthrop Community Access Television. I was there for 5 years, so that was really my introduction to community access. I learned a lot, but I'm very happy to be here with BevCam. I'm learning a ton just in these few months. So I'm content manager, so I like to schedule all of the shows. I like to get shows from local, of course, and anything that's imported. So if anything seems interesting, I will just download that and put it on the station so people can see it. Rob and I have been working and trying to clear out our server room. So a lot of people don't get to see the back end of our studio. So the server room is where the brain lives of the station. So we've been cleaning that out, trying to get it more functional, I guess, more tidied up. But the main thing that we're really excited about is BevCam is getting an HD channel, finally, after all of these years. Yes, good. So that's going to be happening within the next month, hopefully. So we could be playing shows in HD, whether that be government meetings, school meetings, shows, or just anything we want to play. It's going to be just a melting pot of different things for HD. So yeah, that's one of the newest things that will be happening. So I'm very excited. And thank you for having me.
it has been fun with teaching Michelle the back of the server and just kind of pulling things. So what does this thing do? And what and figure it out. I don't know. What do you think it does? I don't know. Let's unplug it and see if anything goes wrong.
Nothing's gone completely wrong.
No. There was that one time when we couldn't figure out why it wasn't going there, and
Yeah, we were looking at the wrong
monitor. Yeah.
wrong monitor.
And last but not least, the man who comes from the booth, our production manager, who has been at BevCam before, and we've got him back from Endicott. So Chris, yay. Our baby.
Hello. I'm back. I came crawling back, as I think Kim always says when people see me again. I'm Chris Harvey. I'm the production manager. I returned to BevCam in May. I initially worked at BevCam from 2015 to 18, I believe it was, and then I departed, went over to Endicott College, right down the road, and worked in audiovisual services. So, not that much of a departure from what I did here previously and what I do now, but it was a lot more of just managing upkeep of spaces and functionality for classes and events and everything media, AV related all over campus. And after 5 years of doing that and just taking kind of a firestorm as a 3-person team, and I was kind of like, I miss being creative and I miss local access, and the opportunity opened up here, and I was more than happy to come back. What I do here is what I've been doing in there pretty much. I manage production. So anything that comes into the studio, anything that's outside of the studio, sports related. Meetings right now is more of Kim's kind of bailiwick, as we right.
Well done.
But it's a lot of scheduling and just meeting with people that want to do shows, new producers we have coming in, people that are returning that have a new idea. So it's kind of a mishmash of all that. So somewhere between just managing day-to-day production, planning for future production, doing in-studio, post, field, anything that has the word production or similar to that, I'm involved in, and have been very excited to work with a lot of new people and a lot of people I've seen before, and just much looking forward to where this is all going with our new direction and the new possibilities we've talked about with maybe some pop-ups and things outside of our nice space here, and just kind of continue to grow the organization and see where we can go and what we can do. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go back there.
Chris,
Oh right, there was one more thing. The thing, yeah. So I need to invite them back up. And Rob, you need to stand right there.
we had a presentation, turns out.
Thank you for reminding me.
You didn't think we did you?
No.
No, of course not. How would you know? It was a secret the whole time.
The whispering.
Get up here.
I don't know my part.
It doesn't matter. You're in theater.
Nobody told me.
Improv. Damn it.
You're in the headlights looking.
Okay, stand here.
Yeah.
It's a paddle.
Rob,
What show is this?
as everyone has said, you've been with BevCam for just over a year now.
Yes.
All of us here are new. We would like to say welcome to BevCam from us, the staff. Kim too. He's here in spirit.
It's a newspaper.
Yeah, don't mind.
We got you the Salem News.
I'm to open this.
Yeah.
Look, there's coupons for liquor. If you want it.
Do you need help?
Well, I just don't want to ruin this nice paper, so I can reuse
You're one of those.
One of the older.
it. Learned from my grandmother. Make sure you get everything. So, oh, screw it.
There you go. Ooh.
Let's see. Oh, independence. Let me see.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. That was great.
Well, thank you guys. That's very nice.
Very
So we'll
nice.
hang that out.
Yeah.
Wherever you'd like.
Wherever.
I mean, take it away.
Home's where the heart is, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so members, who would like to say something?
Going back to your earlier comments about finances, there was some talk over the years that the industry, Comcast, cable in general, is making a concerted effort to disassociate themselves from funding community access. Where does that discussion lie these days? Are they eventually getting to a point where
Well,
a
there's
percentage of their income is not being directed to BevCam and other similar?
them and other Comcast and the big cable groups like that. They definitely don't want things like BevCam around. It's legislated, so we have to be around. They have much more lobbying power than we do, so they fight it every day. But we got a max contract out of them. And that's 5% plus, we only get 5% of TV revenues based on the subscribers in Beverly and what they pay. There's a move afoot now, which, Liz, you might want to say a word or two about that meeting you went to and the trying to get a share of streaming also.
From the mass access advocacy work.
Do you want me to comment?
Yeah, either one of you.
You can go ahead.
Yeah. You mentioned at the board meeting, that's why I figured.
Yeah, so we don't have a ton of details to share because it's all still kind of happening. But there is a bill within the State House and Senate of Massachusetts that is looking at charging the same sort of franchise fee on streaming services. So that would help modernize the law. There's also a national push going in a completely different direction. And I don't remember the language on that one, but it's not going, it's not going towards streaming services, it's going towards internet providers and a franchise fee on internet providers. So there are a couple of different branches that are trying to modernize these laws, and they've been active, the push towards these directions have been active for quite a long time. Legislation on a state or a federal level is really hard to get through. We've got an expert on that on our board as well. So BevCam has definitely been, supporting other community access centers in, finding out what the best direction to go in, and we'll keep you guys updated as we get information.
Good, thanks, Liz. When there's something really important that comes along, Liz can put it in the little newsletter, which I assume you guys are getting, and keep you informed that way too. Back to your point though, Alex, I think the Comcast agreement we have now has 8 years left. It's been a fast, almost 2 years now. And well, it took a long time to get it signed, but it was backdated.
That's true.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
happened.
forgot about that, yeah.
Because they didn't want to give us everything we got, but we prevailed. But that's why it's really nice to have some funds to create product and programming and new media type initiatives that don't depend, that can be monetized themselves after a while and don't depend on Comcast being, they're basically a bank, okay? And they're a bank that doesn't like its customers. So they just, they have to accept us. On the other hand, their revenues to us have been holding up a lot better than certainly I thought 5 years ago when we started talking about these things, but we were so tight on the budget anyway that until we negotiated a new contract, there wasn't much we could do about it. So we just kept talking about plans and new things we could do and all that, but there was nothing to implement, no resources available to implement. And so now we have that, and we have a lot of good ideas. And as you can see, clearly, Rob has a very creative staff and hardworking. And, I think even if we have bumps from Comcast and stuff, I think if we continue going with this kind of energy and enthusiasm, it might make 80% of our decisions correct as far as new initiatives. We'll do just fine. So that's where we're at. Are there either questions or comments from any members? Another one from you. Okay, you win.
You mentioned the HD channel. I'm guessing that over the past 5 years, the equipment has all been, becoming HD capable. So that's all in place now in BevCam's building.
Yeah.
There's going to be an HD channel. Will it share the PEM programming? Will some programs,
Yeah,
all of the
that's
programs, whether they're sports or educational or
I could answer
public?
that question.
That's, speak to that a little bit, Michelle, please.
Sure can. So the HD channel, actually this coming week, this Thursday, Comcast is coming in to upgrade our encoder, which will play the HD channel. I don't know when we're going to be announcing the HD channel, when it's ready to go, but we're getting the back end ready. And yes, the HD channel will be sharing all of, like, it will be an all-around channel. So we
So
really
you
want to prioritize the
You
sports.
don't
or
have to
anything.
give something up to get the HD. This is in addition.
We hope not.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're gonna be playing, so if we have a government meeting on that night, we wanna prioritize that and put that on HD. Same thing with sports. If there's a big game on, we'll play that one in HD.
Great.
So anything like that, so it'll kind of be shared programming.
Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't know the significance of HD, but
Yeah.
would you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, sure. So right now we have 3 standard channels. That's what you're normally watching. With HD, it will be, in better terms, it'll just be more crisp looking. So you'll be able to see more details of the programming. If there's lettering on the screen, you'll be able to see that more clear. So it'll just be way more clear on your TV all around compared to our standard definition, which we're playing right now. It might be a little fuzzy to you right now if you're seeing that. With HD, it'll be a lot more clear.
And just so you know, I don't know if people know what HD does stand for high definition.
High definition.
television.
Right,
It's more
right.
information in the screen. And most of the programming you get from the standard media is already in high definition, so they're kind of
Yep.
finally getting to
Right.
us.
Yep. And I don't know if you watch any of the government meetings or school committee meetings, but oftentimes people have slides.
Yes.
You can hear them fine, and you can see the slide. You just can't read it.
Right.
So
Right. With
this will-
HD, you'll be
this will
able
a
to read
big
the
difference.
slides. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Carol?
I had a question, sort of
Yes, sir.
building on the gentleman's been saying back there is, so we all know about the term, wire cutters, or basically people that are not basically subscribing to cable anymore and going with internet only. So I wondered how the staff is thinking about the YouTube channels, which are already cable-free, I guess, and how that proliferation of internet and social media and the use of those kinds of tools are going to be part of the vision as you move forward, because I think it is inevitable that as the cable companies and what you're describing are basically trying to figure out a way to stay alive and get a piece of that revenue, that the YouTube channels and that kind of streaming services are going to become much more important and more important to BevCam as a source of just
I have a couple comments, then I'm certainly entertain your comments. One is that when I said monetize, that's kind of what we're thinking. If we can develop more of our own content, we do plenty of it now, but if we can develop more content that is only streamed, it's not on the TV, for example, and that BevCam owns or has a relationship with producers where the producers get a cut, okay, traditional model, then I think that's something that could prove to be very, very good for everybody. And right now, I think the only thing we stream is stuff we also put on the TV. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
For YouTube streaming?
Yeah.
So we stream any of the games that are on. We will broadcast that to the channel.
But they're on the channel also, though, right?
Yeah, as well as YouTube.
Yeah.
As well as the
Yeah.
government meetings.
Yeah.
Or school meetings.
I don't think there's any content that we put on YouTube that doesn't go on the channls.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, see, I think if you look at the contract with Comcast, there could be some gray areas there that we'd have to manage in order to be able to legally do that, okay? Whereas we can do anything we want if it's not stuff we're already putting up on the channel also. So that's when you're in your content hunting and all that kind of stuff and looking for producers to do good stuff. Liz has all sorts of statistics, which we don't have time to go through tonight, but we can share some of this with you in maybe one of the newsletters on, because we can gather data on the streaming stuff and on YouTube and all that. We can't on the TV. We're flying blind there. So that tells us through surveys and stuff, some of it's anecdotal, but what people like. And if we could develop something like that and maybe just put it out streaming for a particular demographic group that we're trying to attract anyway, like younger people and all that, compared to our demographic profile now, which looks like a lot of us, then you know, it could be an interesting thing to experiment with and see what happens.
So, can I add
Yeah,
one thing? So,
yeah.
another way to think about it would be the possibility, I don't know whether you have it already, to have a BevCam app that literally is the connection to streaming. Because I think
That's
while you
interesting,
have
yeah.
these cutting, while you basically have TV and YouTube, it's still a problem with trying to actually connect to either one of them.
Mhm.
And if you don't have the cable at all, then you can't connect to it, but you still have internet, and everybody does. So wherever you go these days, everybody's got an app. And if there was a BevCam app, I know that, and if I had the 4 buttons that I like on your presentation, you're already starting to sort of show the categories of government, the things you do.
Yep.
And I want to hear sports, bing, those come up, and now I'm tied into YouTube, and I'm watching sports, and I'm sitting, riding my lawnmower, and, because I don't have cable anymore.
No, that's a really interesting idea. And apps are not that difficult to build these days. I remember when they were first coming out, they were crazy expensive and took forever to now there's platforms out there that they can turn around an app in a day.
Yeah, and
Yep,
that's already
so,
exists.
yeah,
This
so,
isn't new stuff. This
yeah,
already
I
exists.
should
That's
think
a good
about that.
idea.
That's interesting.
Very cool
Yeah,
idea.
thanks. Anything else?
Just came up with it now.
Well, if there's any food left, it hasn't been sitting that long, so help yourself. And thank you all for coming. Talk up BevCam. Tell them to be a friend of Liz's. And
Tell
And,
two friends, and you
champions, go
tell
out
two
and tell
friends,
everyone.
and you tell two friends.
be safe driving home
It's not
tonight in the
the
rain. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.